What's up, guys? I see myself falling into the same pattern over and over again when I'm trying to find something to talk about, because I just go to Google or I go to Yahoo or I go to MSN where like lots of articles are posted the same place, so I don't have to like spend so much time looking for it. I can just go to one page and look at a lot of things. But the news, I mean, it's always been retarded, don't get me wrong, but this is like majorly retarded because the news is now TMZ. Like, top story: Trump disputes military widow's account of condolence call. That's a TMZ. That's like just gossip or, you know, some stupid shit that some celebrity said. That's not news. That is not important. That literally has no effect on the country at all and all the problems that we're having. We're like, Donald Trump gambled you wouldn't care about his tax returns. He was right. Yeah, he was right. I don't give a shit about his tax returns. Jesus Christ, I care about his fucking policies and why they're completely retarded. Oh my god. Why Trump's Korea war talk should be taken seriously. Just did a video on why it shouldn't be taken seriously. Thanks, CNN, for fear-mongering once again and just doing retarded-ass shit. You know, talking about the U.S. troops in Niger being caught in the ambush. Oh, now suddenly you care that the U.S. is in 64-plus wars when one of them dies. Oh, wow, but before that, you didn't talk jack shit. Okay, so let's go to the topic of the video, because I can go on this forever. So we're going to talk about the governor race in Virginia, because that is my state. So this issue is very important to me. I already talked about why I'm going to vote for Hyra, who's the Libertarian candidate. But I didn't talk about the people he's running against. Ralph Northman, which is the Democrat, and Ed Gillespie is the Republican. We'll talk about their stances on issues and why they are fucking retarded and why Hyra is right. So leave a link, as always, through the websites I'm looking at. On the issues has Ralph Northman and Ed Gillespie. He doesn't have Hyra. He just wasn't important enough to be on the website about his stance on issues. You know, third party, we just aren't important. Anyway, so let's go through Ralph Northam first. Quotes on abortion, blah blah blah, wants to allow women to murder their fetuses because they couldn't keep their legs closed. Okay, supports murder. You know, this isn't on a small scale. You know, like hundreds of thousands of babies are aborted every single year. You know, and some are legit, don't get me wrong, because I support women's right to an abortion in case of rape or incest. But if you're just fucking retarded and just didn't pay attention to what you were fucking doing, didn't wear a condom, didn't care about birth control, just la la la, like all these millions of women who have all these babies, it just, that's the only thing they can seemingly do is have a lot of kids and then get on welfare. No, that's not a legit excuse to have a life killed because you are a fucking dumbass. No, I do not believe that women should have the right to abortion in every single situation under the face of the goddamn earth, okay? That makes me misogynist, I know. That makes me a hater of women, yeah, I know. Not wanting babies murdered equals hating women. That's how the liberal mainstream media is painting us. It's just like, what about all the women who don't like abortion, who support my same stance, who don't like abortion, they only support it in case of rape or incest? You know, what about all those women? Oh, they have internalized misogyny. Okay. Nice. I love how you have a little loophole for every single thing. It could just be a different point of view. No, it's just that you hate women, or if you're a woman, you also hate women but don't know it because it's internalized. Okay. So no, I don't support Ralph Northman on that one. Hyra, I do not know his stance on abortion because there's not a lot of information, because the media doesn't like to talk about him, because that could upset two-party stranglehold that they have in this country, but that's beside the point. Usually libertarians are supportive of abortion, and they would let the woman choose whether they want abortion or not, and that's one of the few issues that I have with libertarianism. They view it as a personal choice, and that if the government says yes or no, that's the government infringement on your rights. But this is different because everyone has a right to life. So this is not an issue of government interference in your life. This is the instant of government protecting the right to life, which every person has, which the government should have the power to do. In libertarianism, government has the ability, has the strength to protect people's human rights, including the right to life. So that's why I do not see a contradiction between not supporting abortion, except in case of rape or incest, and in libertarianism. Most libertarians would disagree with me on that. They say, no, the government has no right to tell you what a woman can and can't do, so they are open with abortion. But no, that's murder. And the government cannot allow murder of innocent citizens. It has the power to protect its citizens, blah, blah. Okay, so probably Cliff Hyra believes in that. I'm not sure. Ralph Northman on budget and economy. Cut spending by $4.6 billion to keep our budget balanced. Okay, that's nice. Okay, so he maybe does. He cares a little bit about the budget. But Democrats overall don't give a shit about the budget. Oh my gosh, the whole party. Like, I do not trust him to be in charge of the state budget and actually keep it balanced, because no Democrat has ever been able to do that except Bill Clinton, ever. You know? So, no, I don't want him in charge of budget and economy. I know he's going to run into the ground. I know he's going to rack up government spending. He's going to raise taxes on the lower class like a fucking retard. And just have a huge estimate. Cut taxes for the rich, because despite what the media wants you to believe, Democrats and Republicans overwhelmingly favor tax cuts to the rich because the rich are their donors. It makes sense in their little crony capitalism they have going on here. It makes sense to have tax cuts for the rich because they are the ones who give them money that are able to fund their campaigns in the first place. You know? So I don't trust those two parties to be in charge of the budget and the economy and to be able to balance a budget, because they're never able to do it except for Bill Clinton. But let's just talk about that's one person in the history of the last 30, 40 years. No Republicans have been able to do it, so I don't trust Ed Gillespie with the net budget and economy either. I trust Cliff Hyra because he does not believe in huge government spending. He's going to cut back on government spending like a motherfucker because we are spending way too much. We need to actually balance the budget, because that is a principle of libertarianism, is not running up the debt so much. That I say so many times, you know, people don't understand how this works. You borrow so much money that eventually you don't even make enough money to pay the interest on all the money you borrowed, and that's when you default in your loans. And that's how we have crises like 2008. Okay, it is not sustainable. And the two main political parties, just don't care, because that will happen when they're out of office. They are short-sighted. They don't look at the long-term picture. While libertarianism is like, all this wasteful government spending can be cut and we can balance the budget. It's so fucking easy. You just have to stop spending on things that the government should not be involved in. Following the Constitution, having the government limited by the Constitution, and only spending what it is supposed to do, you balance the budget. In no time. It's that simple. Ralph Northman on civil rights, backs marriage with same-sex couples. Yep, treat same-sex equally and fairly under the law. It's actually something I agree with him with. I'm not gay, but I fully support same-sex couples should literally be viewed exactly the same as different-sex couples in the eyes of the law. So something that I side with Democrats on, and lots of Republicans I don't side with. There are lots of Republicans who do support gay marriage, but lots of them who don't. The vast majority of people who do not support gay rights are Republicans. So that's something that, again, being a moderate, I support the Democrats in this particular case. Don't support the Republicans. I tend to side with Democrats on drug laws also, like Ralph Northam is talking about. Be open-minded about marijuana. We spend $67 million a year enforcing our marijuana laws. It's just wasteful spending. We could just stop enforcing these laws that are criminalizing an action that is not a crime and save $67 million a year. You know, but he's not going to solve the problem. He's making it a little bit better. Like Maryland, for example, decriminalized up to a certain amount, and if you get caught with a certain amount, it's like a fine. It's not an actual crime that's on your record, you know? So that's as far as the Democrats usually go. Now, in some states, like obviously in Colorado and Washington State, I believe are the two that legalized recreational pot, Democratic states. So they are more in tune with the libertarian aspect on drugs. Again, summary, what you put in your own body is up to you. It's not a crime. So you should be able to put whatever you want in your body. Decriminalize all drugs. If you're a fucking retard and want to shoot up heroin and fucking kill yourself, then that is your prerogative as an adult. You know, we cannot babysit adults. So Democrats like halfway to that point where they're decriminalizing to a certain amount, making it a fine if you carry a certain amount, or, you know, whatever, or like DC where it's like halfway decriminalized. So I'm like halfway there with the Democrats. The Republicans, on the other hand, we'll get to Ed Gillespie and why he's just completely wrong on this. Okay, so Ralph Northman on education. Oh, he's not going to fix any of the problems with massive spending on schools, and it's just going nowhere, and the schools are getting worse. And you're blaming teachers for, I mean, for what's the problems at home, so the student isn't doing well, you blame the teacher, and it's just like this whole problem is not going to get fixed by either of these two parties. I'm not going through every single one, otherwise this video will be 50 minutes. You know, I want to get to Ed Gillespie and Cliff Hyra on this too. So Ralph Northman on gun control, no concealed carry without a permit. It's not the biggest issue in the world because getting a permit is no big deal, but on principle, you should be able to conceal carry without a permit. You should just, every person has the inherent right to self-defense. And you shouldn't have to go through the government and pay a fine and take a class to be able to get this right. It's inherent. As soon as you buy a gun, you should be able to carry conceal without being able to go through anything. You know, it's inherent. You have this right no matter what. Like freedom of speech, like imagine you have to pay a fine and going to a course in order to have your First Amendment right to speech and to assemble. It's like, no, you have it, and that's it. You know, you don't have to do anything about it. That's a minor thing. So obviously, Cliff Hyra, the Libertarian stance on gun control is what I said. Every person should be able to own a gun, except for the criminally insane. But then you have strict definitions on what is criminally insane. If you define a person shouldn't have a gun if they have mental illness, well, when you include mental illness with depression and anxiety, then like 90% of Americans can't own a gun because odds are an American either has anxiety, depression, one of those are the main two. You know, if you list all these things, mental illness, and that just wipes out 90% of the population's ability to own a gun. That's not right. There's a difference between having a mental illness like depression and then someone who is clinically insane, who like legit cannot, like, he's like hallucinating and can't drive a car and can't function. You know, obviously he shouldn't own a gun. Obviously. But a person who has anxiety shouldn't be blocked from having a gun because technically, medically, they have a mental illness. Being anxious should not invalidate your inherent right to self-defense. Okay, now this is when it gets really juicy because this is where, I agree with him on some points. Like I said, I'm going to go through this, I agree with him on some points. But this one, on immigration, he just totally just fucks it up so bad. Stand up to ICE, to ICE. Our doors are open. Wait. You want to stand up to the people enforcing our laws? What? You sound like an insurgent. You sound like a rebel against the United States. I mean, what are you fucking talking about? These people are trying to enforce laws to keep people safe, to make sure that the people in this country are supposed to be in this country, and the people that aren't supposed to be in there are supposed to be out, and you're like, stand up to them. Let me think of an analogy. I don't fucking know. Like, the police are defending you against criminals, you know, in some, like, crime-ridden city, and you're like, stand up to the police. And it's like, but we're defending your rights, you fucking retard. He's like, support driver's license for illegal immigrants. But they're not supposed to be here. Why are you giving them a driver's license? I don't want them on the road. I don't want them here at all. First of all, there's way too many people here anyway. Second of all, they're criminals, so you're going to ignore that and give them a driver's license. First of all, some of them can't speak English. Why are you giving someone a driver's license and can't speak English? Here's the problem. Like, you get in a crash with someone. Like, someone hits you, and then you get out of your car and talk to them, and they're an illegal immigrant. Can't speak English. They don't have insurance because they can't legally get insurance because they're not supposed to be here in the first place. So you get in a crash with this guy. He doesn't speak English. He doesn't have a driver's license. Well, you have a driver's license if you elect Ralph Northman to the government. But he doesn't have insurance because he can't legally get insurance. And then so you're sitting there like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? And then the insurance doesn't pay for your damage on your car because there is no insurance to do in the first place. And it's just like, this whole problem can be solved if you just enforce the laws in the books. Illegal immigrants are supposed to be here. You kick them out. And then when you get in a car crash with someone, you can actually do it correctly. Okay, we talked about enough about Ralph Northman. Now I'm going to talk about Ed Gillespie. So I'm going to go through the same issues are in the same order. Oh, okay, before I get there, what is Cliff Hyra's support? What is his stance on illegal immigrants? Well, okay, there's this magical thing where you enforce the laws in the books. There's nothing inherently against libertarianism with having immigration laws. Every country in the face of the planet has immigration laws. There's nothing wrong with it. So no, he doesn't support having driver's license for people who break the law or not supposed to be here. And he doesn't support insurrection against government agencies who are enforcing the laws to keep you safe in the first place. I mean, that's hilarious. Okay, now we're actually going to get to Ed Gillespie. So on abortion, I usually side with Republicans and disagree with Democrats. So when Ed Gillespie opposes abortion, I support that. He has this one quote: "Promoting culture of life is not making a Taliban." Like that's the funny part, is that lots of people paint people who don't like abortion as religious fanatics, religious zealots who are backwards, and want people to bring women back to the Stone Age. And it's just like, well, there are plenty of people who are not religious at all, or only a little bit religious, and far from the far right wing, that don't like abortion. So this picture you're painting of people who don't like abortion is completely not correct. So Ed Gillespie on budget. Budget cutting is a collective exercise in national interest. Then why does your party never do it? I mean, you can cut some of the budget and say, hey, look, I'm cutting the budget. And then you like raise it up in other parts. And it's like, okay, technically, yes, you did cut the budget in that one part. But the fact that you raised it in another part, that invalidates any savings. You aren't saving any money. You're not cutting the debt at all. So it's just like, Republicans like to talk the talk, do not like to walk the walk. They love talking about being fiscally responsible and cutting the budget and keeping the national debt in line, whatever they're saying. Again, I did a whole video on this where they spent just as much as Democrats. I mean, Trump's budget, wow, looks almost exactly like Obama's, which, surprisingly enough, looks almost exactly like Bush's, it looks exactly like Clinton's, except Clinton actually balanced the budget, but that's beside the point. So it's just like, okay, I don't really care about what you said about September 2006 about budget cut it is a collective exercise, blah, blah, blah. I care about your actions, and your party does not balance the budget, doesn't give a shit about balancing the budget. So I don't trust you to be in charge of the budget economy, just like Ralph Northman. I don't trust you with your party affiliations, the people giving you money, the people that are politically supporting you. I don't trust you. I trust Cliff Hyra. Okay, Ed Gillespie on civil rights, maintains state same-sex marriage ban, but leave it to states. Well, if you're maintaining the marriage ban, then you're not leaving it to the states, you fucking dumbass. How that double speak in that sentence of July 2014, maintain state same-sex marriage ban, but leave it to the states. Well, the state can't decide. You already chose to maintain it. So this is where I disagree with you on. No, they shouldn't be a same-sex marriage ban. If two men or two women want to get married, let them go the fuck ahead. It's not bothering you at all. God, like, can you imagine being so like asinine as to like care about someone else's marriage? It's just like, if you're married, I've got my own marriage to care about, my own relationship to care about. I've got like 10,000 fucking things to do between goddamn day. The last thing on my mind is, who's getting married? Oh, what are they doing in the bedroom? Like, oh my god. Seriously, get a fucking life. Marriage is the legal union of one man and one woman. Well, the thing is with legal union he's talking about, anything can be legal and illegal with the swipe of a pen. So that statement means absolutely nothing. Talk about the principle of the thing. That's why libertarians support same-sex marriage. They have been supporting same-sex marriage long before the Democrats had gone on the cultural bandwagon and saw it was like the national opinion on the issue was swinging in the favor of same-sex marriage. So they got on the bandwagon about, 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, because Bill Clinton was strictly against gay marriage. And suddenly when Obama came up, it's like, oh yeah, we support same-sex marriage. Oh, wow, what a fucking coincidence, because last Democratic president didn't support that. Ed Gillespie on crime. This is hilarious. More prisons. Who the fuck says more prisons? Like, you can even like not be on the libertarian stance about crime, and you can be like a hardliner Republican, and you want to enforce drug laws even though they're retarded, and enforce stop and frisk, whatever. But to openly say more prisons, who says that? No one wants more people in prison. No, I think there's a stat like 97% of the people in prison are for nonviolent drug offenses. I mean, Jesus Christ, if we actually follow the logic of the Constitution, and logic like in general, people actually use their fucking brains for once, and realize that someone putting a drug in their system is not a crime, then 97% of people in prison can be gone. Saves us so much money because it takes so much money to house people in prison, and then all these people can go back and get jobs and get lives and have families and whatever. I mean, so many people's lives are ruined by the government saying that, oh, you put this in your body, that's a crime. It's like, mind your own fucking business. Then Ed Gillespie, effective death penalty. Now, I changed my mind on death penalty recently. On principle, I believe in the principle of death penalty. Like, if someone raped someone else, then they should be killed. If someone killed them when they saw this crime happening, it would be totally justified. But the problem is that the U.S. justice system is so fucked up and so problematic. It makes too many mistakes. There's too many incompetent judges and too many incompetent people in the justice system that I don't believe that it is an effective entity to enact the death penalty. So until it gets its shit together and until it stops killing people who are innocent, you know, you can read up on all these people who have been executed for crimes they didn't commit, or like judges fucking evidence up and then, you know, blaming people for the wrong crime and get them in jail for 20, 30 years. You know, until you fix your fucking justice system, which is totally fucked up, then no, it shouldn't have the power to enact the death penalty, because too many people's lives have been ruined and ended because there are fucking retards in the justice system. That's what Hyra talks about. Let's go to his statement on the justice system. Someone in an interview, someone asked him, what would be your approach to issues related to crime and incarceration? He says, Virginia has a justice system that unfortunately is not very just and has many policies that are legacy of the explicit racist past. The state government enforced massive resistance to integration and banned cultural marriage. Too many Virginians are languished in prison for ridiculous crime like drug use, away from their families, away from any productive work. Virginia spends billions of dollars each year in the criminal justice system. The rest is 40,000 Virginians for drug crimes. Blah 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 blah. You can read the whole thing. I'm not going to read the whole thing, you know, but that's why I support Hyra on the stance of prison, on drug laws, and on crime in general, and why Ed Gillespie is totally fucking wrong. And then if you want the status quo to continue, if you want people taken away from their families, put in jail for a victimless crime, then go ahead and vote for Ed Gillespie. You are allowed to do that. I'm just saying, this is what's going to happen if you elect him. The status quo is going to continue. We're going to continue to spend millions of dollars to house people in prison who did nothing wrong. This next statement is another ringer. Ed Gillespie on energy and oil. Sea levels are rising, but it's debatable on what causes it. Well, you know, it's not your stupidity, which is massive. I mean, although it could, because it's so massive. But if you actually look at the science, just look it up. Go talk to a scientist. Go to you know, one of the museums on science. Go, you know, I mean, it's not that fucking hard. It really isn't that hard to get a hold of a scientist, or to talk to a scientist, to read an article that a scientist has done doing a study on sea levels rising. But the fact is that you don't want to do that Google search. You don't want to talk to scientists because it will shatter your worldview that humans aren't creating climate change. Now, libertarians, again, on climate change, they have a stance that I don't particularly agree with. They only care about getting profit in the short run. They're all about making profit, which I agree with, to a point, but they don't care if you destroy the environment in order to get a quick profit. Like, protection of the environment, rising sea levels as a result of that, does not factor into the ideology. So, I'm thinking over here like, okay, well, profit is good. Making profit by using the environment to get a profit is good to a point. The fact that you're destroying it and it's unsustainable. If you keep doing this, we're going to fry ourselves by creating a greenhouse effect and we end up like Venus. You know, like, I know that's not part of the ideology because when it was made, we had no idea that the greenhouse effect was happening and that we could end up like Venus. But use common sense and like, okay, this action going to make us money in the short run, but we'll end up like Venus. Okay, let's not do that. Okay. Got it. Here's another one. Ed Gillespie on foreign policy, which unfortunately Ralph Northman and Hyra didn't have anything on foreign policy. Threat of communism drove me to Reagan. Wow, you just admitted that a politician fear-mongering you drove you to vote for him. Why the fuck would I elect you as governor if you were admitting that fear drove you to elect someone who had horrible fucking policies? I mean, just he does not know the implications of what he's saying. Now, again, this is one of the few things I agree with Ed Gillespie. He probably has the same. Republicans and Libertarians are usually about the same when it comes to gun laws. So Ed Gillespie wants to fight the UN gun ban treaty. He wants to fight bans on gun ammunition, which I totally support. Him fighting those, Cliff Hyra does the same. Review the Second Amendment as much as the First Amendment. I totally agree. Libertarianism, ideology, and Cliff Hyra agree with that as well. The Second Amendment is arguably the most important right, because without it, all of the rights are useless. Like, okay, you can have the right to assembly, you can have the right to speech, you can have the right to speed in fair trial, but if you don't have a gun to defend yourself and you're dead, none of those rights matter. Like, the right to life is the most important right you have. The right that you have the right to life, just because no matter what your race or religion are, you have the right to live, and you have the right to use a weapon to defend yourself, to keep that right to life. Everything is secondary. Being able to speak against the government, being able to assemble, being able to have a open trial, you know, like a secret military tribunal, or the right to a lawyer, whatever, like, all of that is secondary. All of those are important, don't get me wrong. All of those, and all people inherently have that too, regardless of race, religion, gender, whatever. But all that is secondary if you're dead, if you can't defend yourself. You know, I mean, I think that's pretty logical, what I just laid out. It makes sense. Like, talking about people's needs, and like their most primary needs is like food, water, shelter. Your need for like fulfillment in life, like a fulfilling job, fulfilling hobby, fulfilling family, whatever, like all that's good and people need it. If they don't have it, it's kind of hard psychologically. But if you don't have food, water, shelter, then that doesn't matter, you know? Okay, this video is without editing, I don't know, 26, 27 minutes, kind of one of my longer ones. So I think I've laid out my ideas on why I think Ed Gillespie is a retard and why Ralph Northam's a retard. Okay, let's think it's politically correct because the R word is bad. Why they're wrong, why I'm not voting for them, why their ideas suck and would continue to harm the country, continue the status quo, continue this downward spiral this country is having, and why I believe that Cliff Hyra's stances on the issues, that is everything on how I vote. I don't care about your race, religion, gender when it comes to voting. You know, I'm not a social justice warrior. I don't care about that. There could be a black transgender female. Wait, doesn't even make sense? I don't know. And if she's libertarian, I would vote for her over a white male who is a Democrat or a Republican. You know, even though they are the gender and race that I am, that doesn't matter to me. All that matters is stances on the issues, and I laid out the stances to the issues on why Democrats are wrong on A, B, and C, why Republicans are wrong on A, B, and C, and why Democrats are right on D, for example, and why Republicans are right on F, for example. You know, but libertarianism overall, I agree with the most, which is why I'm voting for Cliff Hyra.